What's up, everybody? How you doing? Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. This is your tutorial for the very end of December, the last tutorial of the year. I want to thank you for being a part of my year for the whole year. Now, because it's Christmas holidays, I am a couple of days late, because Tuesday, which is normally going to put these out, was Christmas Day, and I had big family deals, just like you all did, I'm sure. And then yesterday, when I could have done it on Boxing Day, some friends of mine very graciously took me to the movies, and we went and saw two movies back to back. Well, we went to one movie, then lunch, and then another movie, and so the whole day was spent at the theater. It was a wonderful way to spend Boxing Day. Anyway, so here we are today, and I'm making a tutorial. Now, many of you probably got loopers for Christmas, or if you didn't, you made yourself a resolution to begin the new year working hard on your looping. I wanted to talk to you about looping and how I decide on the arrangements of my loops. And so a couple of things I want to go over. First off, this is not by any means a complete guide to looping. This is merely an insight into what I do, and I don't want to represent myself as anything more than just this is what I present to my audience as I perform. So what I wanted to do was I had originally the idea for this video was to use a song that I would then break down the parts in real time for you. So I would listen to it and we'd go, okay, so if I'm going to do this, I want to know this and this and so on, and figure out all this. And I thought this was a great idea. One of the things that came to mind or that I realized was that if I used a song that you all know, I would probably run into the dreaded YouTube copyright strike where they wouldn't allow the video to be shown because I'm using copyrighted music, or that I would be slammed for it, and so I was trying to find a solution, and what I came up with was this. I'm going to use a song off my new record, Papa Gato, Made of Money, and it's a fun little blues vamp that happens in A, and it's a whole band production, so let's listen to it now.
Made of money, women gather round, call me honey. I got a fancy home, big flash car. I drink my liquor from an old fruit jar. I'm made of money, made of money. 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 I'm Papa Gato, made of money.
All right, so when I listen to the song, there's a couple things. I mean, I know the song because I wrote it, so that helps. But one of the things I listen for are the components of the song that I can break down. Now, thinking about live performance, I realized that I'm not going to have a drummer, a bass player, probably because I'm just me with my ukulele. So I'm not necessarily going to have a drummer and a bass player with me. So I have to somehow simulate those components in the song. So the first thing I think of, I'm just going to play it here on my thing. I got this. You can hear that, right? You got the eighth notes going on the hi-hat. The snare hits to 3 and 4, or 3, 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And beats on 1 and 3, right? Now there's a little bit more to what he's doing than that, but that's a good basic. You can figure that out pretty easily. So the first thing I'm looking for then is how can I convey that in a simple arrangement, because I don't have all the pieces. So for example, I'm not playing in the song, I'm playing guitar, so there's a whole lot of notes I can't play on here to get the sound right. So I might want something like that as my top level of my loop. So I might sit there and go, okay, so this is my rhythm of the song. It's in A, so I've got the A chord. And I'm using an A7, but So I'm going with A, grabbing onto the 7th, open, bring up that C on top there. something like that. Honestly, at this point, I could take the artistic genius route and go, oh, it has to be this note and this note. But really what it comes down to is, what does it feel like to you? That's what I looked at for when I'm doing a cover of a song. What does it feel like? It doesn't have to be the real thing. It has to feel the same, but it should be the same key. So we know that it's an A. So that's going to be my top groove thing, and I'm going to follow the changes as best I can. So I can start by starting my loop with just the basic groove. So I know I've got this drum beat that's... So you can hear my foot going there. So I want to get that. So often I do things like I'll hit on the bridge with my thumb and slap on the neck, and that gets me a beat. So for example, I'll start that off here, get this going. And I'll start the looper. So there's my beat. So I've got to get that eighth note on top. Right? That's what I want to get to feel now. Using my tonality of my strings to my advantage, I can come up here and I can just strum a muted, like I'm muting the strings, but right near the bridge. Or I can come up here and get something that really might sound thinner. That's actually pretty good right there, right? So I get my loop going. So there, now, if I just start playing over top of that with the... Call me Papa Gato, I made money. Women gather round, call me honey. I got fancy clothes, big fine car. I drink my liquor from an open jar. I made money, made money. I made money, I made money. Call me Papa Gato, Lord, made money. So that groove works for me. Sounds pretty nice, right? You got this. So that gives me the basic drums. Now I got to think about the bass. Let's listen to that bass part again here. If you were going to try to loop the entire phrase, you could work on a bass line that is all the exact changes. But we're creating a simple groove, just a moment that will encompass everything. So what we want to do is listen to the feel of that. And so he's got a real root thing going on where he's hitting the root note and he's, you know, he's got kind of this vibe going on. Now, one of the things that I look for is I look at all the chord changes I'm going to be playing on. So in this song, we're using A, D, and E. And I look at all of the fingerings that I'm going to have to make. So my E7 chord, my D7 chord, and my A. And I look at the notes that are in common. And what I mean by that are, what notes am I holding down with my fingers in almost every situation. So for example, when I'm playing my A, of course, the second fret on my G string is covered in every chord except the E7. So I've got that second fret on the A, I've got the second fret on the D, and then on the E7, it falls 1. Now that tells me that I've got these two notes as something I can play with. I also have the second fret on the C string, the second fret on the E string as notes I can play with because they're in the D chord. And it's one step up from my open E, which is in the A chord, right? Now also, my open E is open during the E chord. So all of these things are things I think about. It. What notes am I fretting? What notes are open? This helps me to build a bass line that can work over all of these changes. So for example, if I've got my octave pedal here, now I'm using an octave pedal to drop my uke an octave. That's one of the tricks I do. It helps. It's not necessary, but it really helps if I know my A pentatonic scale and I know that I can throw it in right here at this point because I'm going to play that. But I don't know, I'm not, let's assume we don't know the A pentatonic scale. So we're looking at those notes that we know we have. So we've got this. Now I've got up to the 5th fret on the G string, but that's just the open C. So I've got all this right here. So for example, if I got my groove going on, and I know I've got this, that's nice, isn't it? Call me Papagato, made of money. Women gather round, call me honey. Got fancy clothes, big flash car. I drink my liquor from an old jar. Made of money, made of money. I made of money, made of money. Call me Papagato, made of money. That really kind of works, doesn't it? We got this little, we got the groove that basically goes from our 2nd fret to our 2nd fret to our C, D, C, A, G sharp, A, right? That's what we got going on here. So it's anybody who wants to dissect the recording will know that that is not what my bass player played on the record. But it does sound kind of good, and from an entertainment point of view, it's a pretty full ukulele sound. So now we've got our basic groove gun. We've got our drums, right? We've got our bass line. We need our rhythm now. And when you listen to the track, there's a lot of extra picking parts going on here. Wait for the chorus here to end. So you got this. So it's really just downstrokes, isn't it? 1, 2. So I'm not overplaying. So there's my basic groove. And that will carry me through the whole song, right? And I can play other things over top of it. Because my chord stabs are stabs, they're not ringing, I can put another note over it, and it won't sound terrible. Like, watch this, for example. I'm Papagato, made of money. Women gather round, call me honey. I got fancy clothes and a big flash car. Drink my liquor from an old fruit jar. Made of money. I'm made of money. So anyway, that's basically it. I use what is under my fingers already, knowing the chord shapes. That's where I figure out my bass line. And I practice it at home. I test it out. I see if I like it. Because maybe I don't. Maybe I do something that doesn't work. So let's clear this and start over with an idea and do it differently, right? So we got our beat. We got our beat coming here, right? Not my best version of it, but whatever. And I know I've got this bass line, this groove, and I'm going to do this. Let's try it. That's kind of good, but let's try a different one. We'll erase that. Now the music goes just the same notes, right? That one kind of works. Just those two notes. So you can see there's all kinds of variation that you can play within that idea to get something that suits you. Now, one thing you can do is if you come up with an idea that is longer. So for example, we just did this here with this. Maybe what I wanted was a phrase that starts out like that, but then builds into that other one that I did, which was, you know, right? So there's a 2-bar phrase. So what I have to do is I have to make a loop that's at least that long, right? So I got my groove here. That's 1 bar, so I need at least 2 of those, right? So we go. And we get into our bass line, right? And there you got this booming bass line, right? I got told, made money, women gather round, call me honey. I got fancy clothes, big flashy car, drink my liquor from an old fruit jar. Made money, made money, made money, made money. I got told, made money. I hope this has been a lot insightful for you. I hope you've learned a little bit of something and you have some ideas that you can incorporate into your own playing. Remember the trick of looping from my philosophy, variation in tone. You heard it here where instead of just me strumming and playing and then trying to play something with the same sound that I just used, I used an octave pedal to drop it to be a bass. When I played a percussive rhythm, I looked for variations in tone that could get me the sounds that I was looking for. And all of that allowed me to take one ukulele and create more of an orchestra sound. That's something that I think is really important for you to remember as you go into this and as you're practicing it. Look for ways to get that variation in tone. You don't have to spend a lot of money on equipment. You know, I mean, of course an octave pedal costs money. Of course a reverb pedal costs money. Of course an overdrive pedal costs money. But even without that, you can do something interesting and similar. you know, just by playing with arrangement of space. For example, assuming I had none of this other gear, I just had my looping pedal, I know I'm going to be playing a lot here. I can have a low G instead of a high G, and I can arrange my parts so that I get my thing. So for example, I can do my beat here. I'll just play those notes. I'm just thumbing them. Here now, even without any other tone differences, because of the way I'm attacking it, you can hear the parts, right? One of the other things I can do is if I know I'm playing an A7 chord, I can look for an A7 up the neck. I can play an A7 here, for example, which is taking that G7 shape and sliding it up 2 frets, right? So. My D7 shape all the way up the neck. And what that gets me is this distance from this sound. I'm not playing right here. I'm playing something different sounding. And that's a great way to vary up that tone to get something more interesting sounding. Thank you for tuning in today. It has been an amazing year here on YouTube and on Patreon for all my Patreon supporters. That's right. What I'm meaning to say is all of these videos have been supported by my patrons on Patreon. And I want to thank you so much for being a part of it. If you haven't already checked out Patreon, you're missing out on a lot of stuff. And we've got some new stuff coming in 2019 that's going to be so exciting. The way it works is my patrons pay me to make this video that you're seeing here free. I make 2 of these a month. These are the free videos that everyone gets. They pay me to make those videos, and in exchange for that generosity, they get a whole bunch of other stuff behind the scenes on alternate weeks. So while you're seeing this video this week, next week they're going to see a video that is just for them, and they'll see other content that is just for them. And then another free video, and then content that is just for them. And that's the way it works. So follow the link and check it out. See if it's something for you if you want to enter the new year with that. I want to continue these videos, this educational opportunities to share with you and to be help you develop your craft. I really want to send a special thank you to all my patrons. It means so much to me that you're a part of this. Your contributions have helped me to stay home a little bit more. I love what I do. I love coming to visit you where you are and playing this music for you, but it is tiring, and it's nice to be able to stay home a little bit. And these videos really help that. This contribution from you really helped me with keeping the bottom line going. So thank you so much. Have yourselves a great end of 2018. I hope that it's everything you hoped for, and if it hasn't been, let's look forward to 2019 being even more exciting.